This is your host, Stephen Sargeant, the Around the Coin podcast. We are extremely lucky to have Victor Orlovski, the general partner at R136 Ventures. We talk all about his early technology days being the CTO of one of the largest European banks and how he grew mobile banking before there was actually even mobile banking. He's a digital expert working with startups and founders directly from Silicon Valley. He talks all about stablecoins, agentic AI, and the revolution that's happening right now, whether it's fintechs or payments and crypto. And we also talk about growing teams because that is a lot of founders and startups' biggest problem. And he talks about how he hired over 25,000 engineers in a short period of just a few years. This is one of the most interesting podcasts. And although there's not investment advice, and this is definitely not investment advice, we do talk a lot about how he looks at the industry currently and what it looks like in the future, especially with AI. One of the best podcasts of the year. Check it out. And he's accepting all emails. So listen to the end where he'll provide his email and give you exactly what he's looking for in your deck in order to get to that next level. This is your host, Stephen Sargeant, Around the Coin. This is not financial advice or investment advice, but we do have a special guest today. We have Victor, the general partner of R136 Ventures. Victor, you have such an interesting past. Can you give us a little bit of your 3-minute spiel of where you started, where you are now? And then we're going to talk a lot about your early days in the tech industry.
Well, first of all, Stefan, it is great to be on this podcast, and you just did an amazing work. And you have so many listeners. That's really, really fantastic. Just a little bit about myself. So probably I have pretty much unconventional path to venture. So since 2015, I'm doing what is called now R136 Ventures. I'm a founding partner. So there are 4 partners. We do invest into early and growth stage FinTech and B2B enterprise startups, primarily within Silicon Valley and Israel. So 3 partners are here in the Valley, including myself, and 1 partner is in Tel Aviv. So I think that we really have a kind of a unique approach, but we will hopefully speak about that later. So before really jumping into this venture capital markets and investing, I was a corporate executive. So I served as chief technology officer in one of the largest banks in the world. Started long ago. So my first kind of large assignment, if you will, was a small but aggressively growing bank in Central and Eastern Europe, where I scaled a mobile bank, which was not called a mobile bank back then. It was a featured phone banking, so it was well before iPhone era. And we actually have grown it to over 1 million consumers. And it was, I think, one of the largest footprint in digital, which was not called to be digital back then, banking prior to iPhone era. So then in 2008, 2015, I served as a CTO of one of the largest legacy banks, which when I joined had the zero footprint in digital, and as CTO, with the help of obviously amazing team under guidance of CEO. You have to always remark that I was not alone doing it. We scaled it to 45 million consumers on a digital in a digital space prior to 2015, and it was the largest digital footprint in the world. Imagine that Revolut was not born even; it was before that. Bigger than Bank of America, Chase, and Citi combined. So, and that's how I decided I can do something on my own, and jumped into this, sit on the plane, moved all the way to Silicon Valley, and live and work out of here since then. And actually happy to do what I do now.
I love that. You know, you're very technical, obviously CTO of one of the largest European banks. Now that you're speaking to founders, are you able to pick up whether or not they have the technical expertise to see their fruition, especially when you're dealing with a lot of B2B, SaaS, tech, payments, and crypto companies within your portfolio? Can you tell right away, like, hey, you're going to either need to get another co-founder that's super technical, or you might just not make it?
Yeah, I think that actually I'm like more acquainted. I'm like better speaking with like founders than I think most of the VCs, because sometimes, and we invest like Series B, right? Can you imagine like you're a startup or you already got like your Series seed, bunch of angels, then Series A. So now you raising your like fifth round or whatever. And now I'm coming to ask like chat with you, ask questions. And sometimes founders say, "Oh, Victor, that's the first time ever I've been asked what's like behind the scene. How does that work? How did you do this? How did you do that?" And founders really love telling the stories, right? But nobody really understand that, right? So I'm probably like the one who can speak founders the same language, because most of founders I deal with are like tech founders, right? So they develop things themselves. Recently, I started seeing like founders who are not techie, right? So I think that investing between like 2015, that's my earliest deals, to probably 2020, mostly I dealt with tech founders, right? And I had to really give them a lot of advice on sales, on marketing, on go to market, on how to maybe build tech teams, because they tend to do everything themselves. I mean, they love coding, right? And well, we all know that even like founders of Stripe, like were coding things, like founders of PayPal, famously known, were like coders. So I captured sort of this, founders between like 2015 to 2020, and all of them were coders. So what I had to explain to them that you should stop coding now. I mean, your task is not to code. Your task is to either sell or operations or product, or sometimes and many times HR, right? You should act as like people's manager, right? You should just don't do things yourself. You should like spend 15 minutes coding and whatever 15 hours a day speaking and talking to people, right? Investors, other team members, whatever. Since 2015, 2020, I start seeing like these founders who are like MBA graduates who have never coded in their life. And it's still very rare. I still see like a lot more founders who can code, and I can speak the same language with them because I code as well. But I have to really get them to some other path. And I think that's the most challenging thing.
Are they surprised by that? They're probably coming to you because of your coding expertise to see if they're doing things right. And you're like, no, we're not going to talk about code. We're going to talk about HR and people management and sales. And they're like, yeah, I didn't come to you for that.
They actually love it. I believe that they love it because I can explain it in an easy way. So I scaled the team in one of the companies I worked for from zero. Literally, I was a chairman of the board of the company, which literally had three people. I scaled it to 25,000 engineers in a little bit less than 4 years. So can you imagine? It was like hiring probably 8,000 people a year, and well, managing to like build products, right? It's like, I mean, they were building products, hell, a lot of products. We built like payment system like Stripe. We built a POS system like Square. We built a core banking system. We built a security system on top, right? And it was a software house. So I know all these challenges, and I didn't do it really well, right? I mean, I made so many errors, so many mistakes on my way. If you ask me, would I just do it again the way I did it? No way. I mean, I would not scale it that fast, and it was a complete disaster. I mean, we developed the product and we managed to deploy it, but there was a lot of overhead and there was a lot of real like problems to solve, right? So knowing that, I know how difficult it is to scale technology teams. And by the way, many VCs don't really understand that, right? They think of how you scale sales, like how you scale operations. It's important, right? But in essence, these companies are tech companies, and scaling technology teams is equally difficult, right? So that's my expertise, and you have to differentiate. When you sit on the board, like there are 5 6 people, right? Each understands something. So my core expertise is technology. So I'm probably the only guy on the board many times who can understand when CTO is presenting. Other board members are sleeping because they do not understand the word, right? So I can capture what this guy is saying. And second, how to help this guy to really build his team, right? From 5 to 50 to 500. And that's difficult. And that's where I have a hell lot of expertise.
Can you give us maybe some framework strategies that you use? I know people listening to this car like, hey, I can't even make one technical hire, and you're talking about making 25,000. Developing hires within a short period of time. Obviously, that was probably too much at one time. Can you give us some maybe strategies that you would use if you're a new founder or somebody running a small operation, maybe leveraging AI, how they can scale up their tech team?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, Stefan, it's changing over the time, right? Because when I was building teams, there was nothing in like AI, vibe coding, and all this, right? I didn't imagine any kind of like agents, like super agents or something working for me, right? These were all people. So this agency was very much human, and now it's very much not. Anyway, my like first and ultimate point is that you have to take care not only on technology aspects of whatever prospect you are hiring, right? Because now, like many founders, many tech managers, they like only think of like tech expertise, right? How well you code, what you do, what you did, how fast you learn. And people are missing like this, whatever soft skills kind of stuff, right? I'm a great believer that you can train people to code well, especially now, but you could not train to people to behave differently, right? It's extremely difficult. So what I really not take as granted is how people will manage working together. And I think that what tech manager should like emphasize and should really go deep into is how his team is operating as a team, right? Regardless of whether this team is like in the office, which is very rare now, right? It's now even more complex how this team behaves in a remote space, right? How they work together. And I have a lot of like it's not a rule of thumb, right? I have a lot of like checklist for myself, at least, which I help founders to build upon how to really see and how like review the person's behavior as a team member, right? And that's what I think I would have emphasized the most. So I could not really go so much deep, but I have like the whole framework of how to build a team, right? Instead of hiring like brilliant individuals. And we see like, I don't want to mention like large companies, right? But I have to probably Meta, right? We all know that it doesn't like go well, right? I mean, why? I mean, others like bad like research team like with like no knowledge. I mean, it's not true, right? I mean, this is amazing team, like amazing talent, but for some reason doesn't really work well together, right? And I'm a team player, so I actually played soccer for long. I know that one player, like even you are Messi, could not win, right? You just need to have like everyone in the right place, but also orchestrating the whole thing. And I believe that you have like technology for that, right? You have certain methodology, if you will, which can enable, and I do have it, which can enable this team to like operate like the dream team in a way.
Do you find that like there was a recent situation where an AI person was working with five of the top tech companies at the same time? Do you see that there's a talent shortage, especially now when it comes to AI, especially when you're looking at these companies that you're looking to invest in? You're like, are we going to be able to scale up these teams because there's just such a shortage of certain talent when it comes to AI? Or do you feel like there's enough talent out there, you just have to be dedicated and where to look for it?
Well, I do believe that there is a shortage, right? But the shortage is in a way that, I mean, we could not unlock talent, right? So the reason why we could not unlock talent is that there is not enough like training, right? There are great mathematicians, so you had to have a lot of applied math knowledge in past. Now you have to really know algorithms, right? These are people who are wanted the most. That's the people who really get highest compensation and stuff. So there are a lot of great mathematicians, right, who really are not involved into like AI, right? So what I think, I mean, companies should do, right, especially those great companies like who are developing this AI thing, they have to pull mathematicians outside of like their perimeter. And get them involved, engaged into what they're doing, from like pure math, like research, to AI research. But I do agree with you that there is a shortage, right? So we only know like 9 companies in the US and Canada, like doing AI models, right? There are maybe 5 or 6 companies in China, right? There are 2 or 3 companies in Europe. So these are like 20 companies max, right? So if you think of 20 companies, uh, I don't know, multiply it by 100, right? You will just get to like a few thousand engineers who actually drive it all, right? And there is a shortage, right? I mean, there is no company number 10 is not just because there is no room for company number 10. It's just because there is no enough resource, like enough talent who can just get to make this company number 10. But I do believe that, again, there is like kind of a barrier. So you have to really be creative, pulling people out of like math field, like mathematicians, but those who are not yet working on this AI thing.
That's really interesting. And the reason why I'm sticking so much with this is because I think that's the biggest trouble when you look across the board. We've gotten a plethora of technology with AI, but it's the human talent that I think founders and startups are really struggling with. I'd love for you to talk about, you went from scaling tech to scaling founders, and that's why you created R136. Can you tell me a little bit about the name, how you and your 3 partners landed on it, and what void in the market did you feel that you were filling? Because obviously there's lots of VC firms, but you have very particular skills. What made you decide to say, hey, I'm seeing things that maybe other VC firms aren't, or I can service these founders the way that they can?
Absolutely. So let's start with the name. We really discussed a lot whether this is a good fit or not. And we hired a bunch of marketing folks to elaborate upon names. So this name actually was like brought by me to the partnership, and I'm proud of that. So R136 stands for a name for the cluster of stars. If you Google or ChatGPT, you will find that it's called R136 1A. So that's the cluster, which is probably 50, I don't remember exactly, 1,000 light years away from us, which is known to be a cluster of very dense gas and very bright stars, like brightest in the universe, which were born there in like dozens or even hundreds. So that's the whole story. So we are looking into unknown, like universe, to find this condensed talent, right? Those brightest people in the universe who develop something really cool. So my partners disagreed that this is a great name. They had a bunch of other names. So we asked our startups what they think, and they have chosen like 10 out of 10. They said R136 is a great name. So that's how my hypothesis won, and that's how we named this fund. So coming back to your question on what differentiates us, right? Think of like building a mobile bank when the mobile bank itself wasn't like a term, right? Nobody even thought of doing anything in mobile. And I could not like coin this term, right? But I coined the thing, right? I built like the technology which had this featured phone banking, like text banking, right? But you could do everything, like open bank account, why, whatever you want, real time online. And it was 2001, 2004, right? Then we built what is called super app. So you can have travel like Booking or Expedia, online theater like Netflix or HBO. You could just order food like DoorDash, and you can do it all with like one app. So we all know that China is like very good in that, like WeChat stuff, right, or Grab in Asia. But we did it before WeChat and before Grab, like in 2014, right, when it was all available for millions of consumers, and really loved it. So I think that I can connect dots on both product and technology. But I believe that what we do, like, and we have proprietary methodology for that. And I told my partners that we should really market it that way because we never did it, right? We have a proprietary methodology of like defining the niche. So you take like the industry or domain, and then you define a small niche, like sharpening it, like making it real crystal clear what you think will happen, right? And then you try to find like universe of great talent working on this particular thing. We are not investing in seed, right? We are not investing in like very early, right? Startups are there already. So what you need to identify is what is the industry and the like sub industry and sub industry you want to build upon, right? And then you find like 20, 30 companies. I mean, in 2015 there were like 5 or 10. Now you have like hundreds because it's extremely more easy now to start the business and scale. So there are more companies at that stage. But now you have to down select to 5 you want to work with. So how we do it? So we actually go and see around and like meet companies, right? How we meet companies? We help companies a lot earlier than we invest. So we help probably hundreds of companies. How we help finding talent? Because I raised like over 20,000 engineers. Some of them work now for best companies in the world, like including AI companies, but some not, right? Some like want to join this community. So I have this talent, and that's probably number one problem for startups. Customers' money is a problem, product, but number one is talent. So we help with talent. Not necessarily we'll end up investing, right? But we try to build this relationship early enough before the round. And in our scorecard, 75% of the weight is team and how team works together. It's not only founders,
Wow.
but it's from board to founders or managers or to senior executives or to ordinary like employees, coders, or marketing people, sales, ops. We try to really understand if this team is like capable of like breakthrough, right? Because it's still a beginning of the journey, right? Are they gonna like make it for the next 7 8 years? And we have a kind of a proprietary scorecard for that. So we end up choosing companies like eToro, for example, which we fell in love with in 2015. It's like our biggest investment in Fund One, and we were proud supporters of the company till they went public this year. This is true for many other companies, and what is important is that we keep supporting founders no matter what. So obviously, not all our startups ended up bringing like great returns to us. But if you speak to any founder, I'm sure just any founder, even those who failed, even those who really didn't make it, if you call them and ask, what did we do for them, I'm sure they will say that we are one, if not the best investors in their cap table. Not the biggest, not the smartest, but the most hardworking and the most added value. So I'm proud of that.
And the reality is most founders, their second project is usually better than their first project, right? So being that like healthy relationship, and especially during a tough time, I'm curious, give us the state of the market, especially now, right? Now, finally mergers and acquisitions is back on the table, it seems like in the US, but we're going away from SaaS and now we're going back into manufacturing with chips and infra. Tell me about the state of the market we are. Bitcoin prices are dropping, tech stocks are going back and forth. A tech a company can be valued at 1 billion one day and 100,000 the next day just based off a tweet. So how do you give me the state of the market as you and your company see it right now?
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right. So the last 3 years were not great for venture capital, right? I mean, in terms of recycling exits, both M&A and public markets were not functioning in a way. And obviously, venture business is all about recycling. So you have to return like proceeds to your investors, and then they would give you more money to reinvest. So this was not happening for last 3 years, and valuations of most companies dropped. At least outside of AI field. Obviously, the biggest attention now is for like AI space, especially foundational models and infrastructure. I do believe that we are like repeating. I mean, the story is repeating itself over and over again. So every next breakthrough in technology starts with infrastructure. We saw it in 80s with in 90s with internet. Then we saw it with e-commerce in like beginning of 2000. When Cisco was, if you think of Cisco market cap and multiples, it was like even further ahead of Nvidia now, and everybody thought that this is like going to be forever. I mean, Cisco is still a great company, but it's far from being like on top of the list, right? So what I'm like, my point is that the story is repeating itself. Everything starts from infrastructure. And now we see like companies like CoreWeave, Lambda, Neobus, name it, and also like chip manufacturers like NVIDIA, of course, are like on top of investors' minds. But I do believe that if you like compare apples to apples, what foundational models do today is that what operating systems of the past, like Microsoft operating system or IBM OS2, who remembers, and oracles of this world or cybers of this world. So this is a foundation layer. Who wins? Those who touch a consumer, right? Those who touch a customer. So it is called intermediation, disintermediation, when you jump in between the service provider and a consumer and become the service provider. That's what Facebook did. That's what Google did. That's what DoorDash did. Uber did. Airbnb did. Now we are waiting for something similar happening, right? We see a clear sign that OpenAI is going that way, but I'm sure there will be more winners, right? So I do believe that from that perspective, we will see like new wave of companies, and in the 5, 6, 7 years, we will see like, I mean, the story repeating itself again. Infrastructure will not be any more of interest for investors. I mean, like Cisco, this, I don't want to name company, right? But these infrastructure companies will become like electricity providers, right? Or telco providers. I mean, they will be good, but they will not be great because their margins will degrade, competition will kill them. So, and that's the reason why NVIDIA and why others are trying to build like this consumer perspective, like building the upper stack. And it's extremely difficult. Being an infrastructure provider, to be like a consumer facing provider, it's like a different DNA, right? It's a completely different mindset of people building up products, building up technologies, and it's extremely difficult to jump into that space. So for that reason, I believe there will be new companies, right? Some of them are born maybe now, some are not, but I'm sure that this wave will create giants. These giants will be like top 10, definitely one of top 10 largest companies in the world. Do we know their names now? No, we don't, right? Maybe these names do not exist even, right? These founders maybe are still considering. In terms of like AI, agentic AI, I'm very much believer of agentic AI. But if thinking of like how that could be made, I believe that we will end up like think of evolution, right? We are like species, but as we speak, there are billions of species interacting now, or like my like bacteria, your bacteria, viruses around, my dog over there, like a lot of birds flying and whatever, right? Squirrels, whatever it is, right? So every bunch is like differentiated one, right? So we are all differentiated species, and that's our strength, right? We are not universal. So if you think of AI agents, this will not be universal play. There will be no one agent doing everything, right? There will be trillions, not even billions, but trillions, or even like whatever greater number of agents, and each will be very special. So from that perspective, I believe that nobody will win in this agentic AI. So there will be a bunch of like smaller players, like I would think like Stripe. Stripe is a giant, like $100 billion, but you think of their market share in payments, it's like a few percent in the US,
Right.
right? Globally, it's like less than a few percent, right? It's still giant, right? Nobody can make one size fits all in payments. So payments is so huge, and nobody is gonna be like one and single player in payments. So to that point, nobody will be one and single player in the AI agentic space. That's how we see it. So where do we invest into? And that's like an interesting thing. So we decided not to invest into foundational models. We are going to invest into tools, because there will be a lot of need, like a huge demand for tools to orchestrate agents, to monitor agents from like cybersecurity perspectives, from diligence perspectives, observability, well, everything, cybersecurity, right? Everything, name it, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, we want to go to expertise domain, right? As I said, there will be like trillions of agents, but there will be still some big domains where you can make it different. And under domains, I understand like a particular like thing in the healthcare, or in logistics, or in payments, or in like other sectors, right? So we prefer now to watch like those founders and to build upon those founders who have this expertise domain. So expertise domain is more important for us than AI knowledge and AI. And second is unfair access to proprietary data, because that's how you can train and make your models even better. So these two things are on top of my mind, at least now. And that's what we are trying to find now for the next generation of founders we are going to back.
Can you talk maybe about a couple of your portfolio companies? Because you're talking about finding almost like industry marker, like things that haven't been created in the industry that almost change the evolution industry because they're in their own category before a category is even created. Can you maybe talk about a couple of your portfolio companies where you saw like, oh, we feel that this is going to create its own category and maybe how they've done and like how you kind of picked out that they were going to be the winner in that category?
Absolutely, yeah. When we invested in eToro back in 2015, nobody really spoke of social investing, right? And we were like, and I was like served by 5 or 6 private banking experts, and my portfolio was almost like, uh, well, managed by like third-party people, right? I was barely having any idea on how this is managed, right? And well, I was like a kind of like a top, probably not like a private client, but I was thinking about like others who could not afford of having private bankers, right? And how can you invest like $50 and building up your own wealth and playing the markets and stuff? And we had this thesis that there will be like like social platforms being built on financial side, like on in financial sector, and we found eToro because of that. So they were building something what we really liked, and we really liked team. So we made this, and it was not like development methodology back then, but we really looked into how they just work together. We visited them on site, both in Israel and other places, and we realized that this is a great team. And we spoke to people who worked in eToro from like 2008 or since inception, and people were still excited and motivated, and we really loved it. So, and they are definitely a category leader. So they are the largest social investing platform in the world. I think I don't know if they're bigger than Robinhood. I mean, definitely they're smaller than Robinhood in the US, but worldwide, I think it's one of the biggest social investing platforms. And they have definitely defined this category.
Right.
Another company I would think of is ThetaRay. When I joined them, they were doing like AI, and that was ML AI, not like this large language models yet. Predictive analytics on data. So basically, you give them whatever data sets, like whatever size of this data sets, and they will find anomalies, right? Something what is unusual. And they were
Interesting.
really proud with this technology. And there were 2 mathematicians, like world-renowned mathematicians, who built these algorithms, but they really didn't understand how to apply it into real-life economy, right? They were trying to do like airplane companies. They were trying to do logistics or oil and gas, mining, because I mean there is like everywhere like bunch of data, right? I
Right.
mean, you can find like this data, and people are struggling to find anomalies, right? To predict, right, what's going on. And well, on the board, we decided it was early enough. It was like 2017, I think, to pivot it, and I was like a big advocate to pivot it to one single domain. And we have chosen domain fintech and the banking, and I think we were right because we built exciting tool. So a large enterprise do not like a tool for everything. They want a tool for specific thing, right? You could not think of like a large enterprise to be like a one united thing, right? There are smaller units, right? And they all have their own problems. So we decided to tackle specifically compliance. And since then, we started building a compliance tech company, which is built on AI and now on LLMs. They delivered like exciting results, won a market with some biggest banks and with some fintechs at scale. And I think that that was pivoting. So that's how we not only found, but like reconstructed together with company and the board, the whole notion of like being a category a, like a category builder, not even a category leader, because compliance AI is something what you could not even imagine happening in like 2017, because everything should be predicted. You could not like have a black box for a regulator. So you have a black box, and now it gives you something, right? So no, like regulator likes black boxes. Even they deliver perfect result, they don't like oracles. They like pure math, and should not be like. I mean, your results should not go out of nothing. But working with regulators, we really made an amazing job for them, like to understand how it works, and now they're supporting this kind of stuff. So we not even built like the category. We also explained it to a regulator. This category may
which is
exist.
the real challenge, right?
It was a
Forget
real challenge.
hiring and forget. I'm a crypto compliance guy myself, so back in 2017, 2018, you could even forget black box. You could even
Yeah,
give them the documentation, and they were
yeah,
happy with it.
yeah,
So you spend most of
yeah,
your. It's funny. You spend most of your time as a fintech and payment company dealing with regulators anyway. So why
yeah.
not build something for both the fintech companies and the regulators can be happy with? To your point, it's a tool that's helping both sides of the equation.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts on stable coins now? Because like you talked about eToro, and now it's like we have this whole stable coin emergence, and then we get into the conversation around AI agents, being autonomous, being able to pay now with stable coins. We haven't seen too much of that in practice, but just like self-driving cars, I feel like it's just around the corner before people are like, hey,
Hmm.
let my AI agent go buy whatever I want as long as the bank's insuring me, or my crypto exchange is going to allow me to do those transactions using stablecoins. What are your thoughts about stablecoins and now the use of them by AI agents?
Absolutely great question, Stefan. And I have like I think a very controversial answer to that. Comparing, and you did like a great job comparing with self-driving cars. I live and work out of like Menlo Park, Woodside. So finally we have Waymo here. So when I go to San Francisco, I stop at parking and then go Waymo from South San Francisco to the city because I really love it. But they could not get me to Menlo Park until recently. Now you can order Waymo here, so you have to go like maybe 10 minutes to where they can park, but they still could not get me to San Francisco. That's like crazy. So I tried yesterday, like going to San Francisco, and I just realized it takes 2.5 hours. Why? I mean, I'm just staying here, like living here at 101, so it's like only 1 hour because they could not drive the highway yet. So, so it's to your point. Self-driving is around the corner. So for me, it's literally around the corner. Now, now let's go to where stablecoin is. I just made my trip to Latam. I was to Mexico and was to Argentina. So it's a market where stablecoin is not around the corner. Maybe there is something around the corner, but not stablecoins. Stablecoins are deeply embedded in what they're doing. And I have a friend in Argentina who shares like the same kind of place we lived in long ago. So he now lives in Argentina. He runs a bunch of businesses there, real estate business and rent a car business. So I just rented a car from him, and I was curious because he told me that he can only accept stable coins. Said, how come? He said, well, that's the preferred. I could not accept peso because peso is like uh, like
Volatile.
too dilutive. Inflation is eating it. I could not accept dollars because I could not change dollars to peso, and I don't need anyway. And then he has shown me books, and that was amazing. So he is buying cars to his rent a car, like long-term lease. He's paying stable coins. He rents cars to consumers in stable coins. He pays salaries in stable coins. He pays insurance in stable coins. He like all his like business is stablecoins platform. So it's all based on stablecoins, and he's using different tools. It's not like one single tool because there is no one single tool available for different things. But it's amazing how adoption has taken place, right? And it's like everywhere. So legal services, consumer shops, uh, haircut, like barber shops, everything in Argentina, at least Buenos Aires, I could not speak of like rural areas, is stable coin not ready. Like it's stable coin economy. So I could not name you a company, but we are about to invest into really great company out of Singapore, which is like a global player, of course. which is a stablecoin first and ready business. They develop a white label kind of solution, and there are many banks now which are consuming this service, this white label platform. So I'm excited how it's just taking off, and I believe that for developing world, for sure, for developed world, I don't know if that takes longer. Most probably yes, because I saw this. You know how this evolution is happening. I saw this biometric credit card, made a payment with that in the late 90s. When I just looked at this wireless biometric card, said, well, it's gonna take 3 years, 4 years before every card will be biometric and wireless, right? But when I just moved to the US in 2015, obviously I've been here before, but it just took me a while to understand why this is still pin and swipe and pin, right? I mean, sorry, swipe and sign, right? Not a pin,
Yeah.
not a chip. It's not like even chips were there in 2015. Not even biometric and wireless. I mean, you could not really use chip, which was on the card, but the whole infrastructure was not
You
ready
couldn't
for
even
that.
tap, I think, in the US
Yeah,
until recently.
yeah, absolutely. So my point is that probably in the developed world, it's not gonna be a mainstream, but in developing world for sure, stablecoin is gonna be the mean of payment and mean of cross border. Like I've seen so much of this happening now, cross border payments. Conventional SWIFT payments, right, are replaced by stablecoin, easy, cheap, and done in minutes. While it's a big disaster if you are a company in Vietnam paying your provider in Uruguay or Chile. I mean, your payment may just be delayed for months, right? Because of some intermediary banks that hold this payment. It's real total disaster how this payment, B2B payment, cross-border works today. And stablecoin is a perfect solution to replace it.
And people are talking about emerging countries, but even for me in Canada to send funds to the US or Great Britain or, interact with vendors around the world and, entrepreneurs and other outsource vendors, it's hard to do. It's expensive. It's clunky. It's not easy. And people wonder why stablecoins are getting so much adoption. I saw on your LinkedIn that you guys are releasing a 3-part series. And one of the parts, I think, by the time we release this episode, will be coming up the AI inflection, where you're going to go into a little bit about what to expect in AI and tech and capital markets in 2026. Can you give us a little sneak peek of some concepts of what the consumer can expect in 2026, or maybe what other VCs or tech companies can expect as well?
Absolutely, and as you mentioned rightly, this is not an investment advice, right? So,
Yeah.
how I see this market going forward, now there is always in this kind of hype cycles. The question is there a bubble? Will there be some decline, and what will happen overall? So I do believe that a market has to cool down, right? And I don't think that it's justifiable. I mean, what's the good market look like in my world, right? The good market is when best companies get funded easily and as much as they need. When mediocre, okay companies get funded, they need to spend more time. They are not going to get best investors, but they will still be funded, right? But others like tier 3 companies are not going to be funded, right? So that's an okay kind of condition in our market, right? When not every company is funded, right? Only best
Right.
are funded, and some of okay companies are funded, because not everyone can go to the best company, at least from perception perspective. What's the hype market is all about is when every company is funded, whether it's like the best company, okay company, like a poorly managed company, that everyone is funded because there is so much funding, right? So those who could not fund tier 1 will fund tier 2. Those who could not fund tier 2 will fund tier 3. That's what exactly happened in 2020, 2021. That it was like a hype for sure, because there was no one single company that would go to the market and would not be funded, right? And some of the companies were going to the market like 7-8 times a year, right? Which is very unusual, right? I mean, usually like funding cycle is like 18 months, 20, 12 months at minimum. But when you go like to the market every second month and you get like double evaluation, it's definitely not healthy, right? So now we see something similar, right, on the market. Not exactly it was in 2020, 2021, but it's still definitely oversubscribed in a way, right? More money than it should be on the market. And I believe that that's the reason why valuations are going that high. And this is related to AI, right? But when AI market is cooling down, it does not necessarily mean that investors will switch to other markets, right? It might mean that investors will like reserve more and will not fund the entire market. So I do expect it to happen. So when? I don't think it's going to happen in 2026, 2027. I believe it will be like 2028 and further. Because still, like, there is a lot of expectations, and some of these expectations are delivered, right? So, I mean, best companies like OpenAI, like Anthropic, they really grow in revenue. I mean, OpenAI, as we know, not that much, but still like going at least on like user adoption dynamics really crazy. Companies like Anthropic are taking off in terms of revenue. At least rumor says that they are gonna make like 70 bill in revenue and be profitable already in 2027, I think, or 2028. I read it the other day in some of media. So my point is that it should cool down, but it will take time. Um, as far as agentic architecture is concerned, I told you that I do believe that agentic AI will take over, but it's not going to be one company takes it all. It will be much more like domain expertise, domain build, and we are looking into these domains for sure. Yeah, you asked and I didn't answer this payment stuff, right? I'm a big believer that none of the payment companies now, like including famous and really built Stripe, Visa, MasterCard, could cope with payment to payment, agent to agent payments, right? You can think of like trillions of transactions, like smaller transactions, almost real time online, or like small sized batches, right? When agents have to speak to each other, like negotiate the price, agree on price, and net up payments, right? So I think there will be someone building up something on blockchain. I'm looking at that, but I haven't seen any company doing it now at scale. But definitely that's where we think a lot will happen, right? In payments
Right.
domain.
One area that people are saying the reason why AI is starting to go down, especially in valuations, is it hasn't actually reached its enterprise potential. It's being sold a lot by consultants. The adoption is increasing while the actual successful implementation is actually dropping. Do you find that like these companies are being sold the dream with AI, but by the time they have to implement it, whether it's hallucinations or pushy sales hype cycle salespeople that are getting them into something that they may not actually need. What are you seeing from the companies that are actually purchasing from these AI startups? Are they getting what they thought they were going to get? And is there success stories you're hearing in the market?
There is an amazing potential in that for sure, right? I mean, AI can help to eliminate a lot of waste, right, in large and largest enterprises, for sure, right? But I think that it requires a lot of restructuring in a way these enterprises work, right? You could not like put it on top, and this was like the same with mobile, right? If you just add the mobile bank like app into your stack, you could not be considered a mobile digital bank, because if I go to your mobile app and then it says it's out of service because of the like, I mean, service time, right, or whatever. I mean, we are updating our system. It won't work until Monday, right? Or now you did this transaction, but now you have to call bank to verify it. I mean, it's just not a mobile bank, right? I mean, you have a mobile app, but can you think of like a mobile experience? No, right? So same for AI, right? You just need to rebuild your platform in a way that AI agentic architecture will work. That's the first thing. Second thing, AI systems are not ready yet. And I spoke to one of CEOs of large logistic company, which really said that implementation of AI, this knowledge, what you call knowledge domain, like knowledge platform, like a search, like an internal search tool, if you will, like an internal browser, right? Like built, I don't want to name the name of the company,
Yeah.
but it's like one of these 9 largest companies doing AI. So he said, um, well, it ended up in my office. I said, why is that? He said, because I was trying to like play with that, and I asked how many, and he's a techie guy. It's interesting, although he's like CEO of non-tech company. He said, I just wanted to know about firewalls, how many firewalls I had. And then it gave me like a bunch of data about my firewalls, which I was not supposed to even have a data for, right? So I asked how come. They said, "Oh, we can correct that." And they came like in like few days. I mean, the company saying now we have corrected this kind of search, blah blah blah. And he said in 5 prompts, I tricked and faked it again. So it gave me like in 5 prompts, it finally gave me the cost of those firewalls, which only finance should know, and also the IP addresses of those firewalls. Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
because it's not ready to like support it, right? I mean, you can buy prompts, you can find out more data than you should, right? And like in these organizations, you do not want every employee to know what your IP address for your firewall is, right? Or how much you paid for these firewalls, right?
You
So
definitely don't want North Korean sponsored hackers knowing that information either.
well, not even like that. I mean, you don't want your managers to know it, right? Because if you are in finance, you're not supposed to know IP. If you are in tech, you're not supposed to know how much you paid for these firewalls, right? I mean, it's like tricky, right? And well, none of the systems can cope with that yet. And I believe that it will take time before the systems will adopt this like robustness of like all generation platforms, like for example, like foundation, like database, like system of record, where you have everything really done in a way that it's like very transparent. If you set the rights, like set the access in a way that nobody else can access it, because it's like very clearly done that way. So I think that there is an evolution to take place yet to evolve the systems, to evolve to that maturity, right? It probably will take a few years. Finally, like large enterprise is a big complex thing, and adoption there is not happening real fast. I mean, whatever they do, they should do it slow. I worked for large enterprises. I know the way they work. I mean, like doing it slowly is the way they can move, right? If they start moving faster, they will break themselves in a bad way. So they understand that. So, and that's the reason why you think of like, I mean, this cloud infrastructure, right? Cloud is all there, right? But why, if you think of S&P 500, I'm sure that over 50% of infrastructure is still in a private cloud, not in a public cloud. People may say, oh, because it's like of safety, security, whatever. No, it's just because they're moving slow, right? It's just because they could not adopt fast. And that's the reason why no pizzeria or like a barber shop has like servers behind the wall, right? They are all cloud. And all these big companies born like 50 years, 100 years ago are still in a private kind of infrastructure, just because it was built that way, right? And if you're still operating like Cabal, and I'm sure like out of 50 largest banks in the US, I'm quite sure that like half of them are still like main language, programming language is Cabal, because their core banking system are mainframe based, right? So what can you do about that, right? I mean, it's like, I mean, it's embedded into such a core of your operations that you could not move fast, because that's what breaks you, right?
Are there any businesses that you've seen or just even interacting with founders and startups that wanted you to put like, hey, let me just take a sabbatical from R136 and jump back into the game as a founder and get scratch my itch again? Is there anything that you've seen out there that like, it needs Victor in commanding the seat,
There are.
or are you really do you really
Mhm.
like staying on the VC side?
There are some. I could not say that I was not invited, right? I was not. I was invited to co-found companies. I was invited to manage companies. I'm always kidding, and this is like partially truth and partially joke that you have to really like understand. I mean, when you do this journey, like as a founder, it's like 7, 8, 10 years journey, right? So you should think of like 10 years probably. So 10 years, you should start from scratch and gradually develop things. You have to really love the problem you're tackling. I mean, my really good friend, Uri Levy, who is the founder of Waze, he wrote a book which I really admire. Essence of this book, that you have to fall in love with problem, not with the solution. Most founders fall in love with solution, and these founders end up nowhere. You really should love the problem. So probably the reason why I never started my own like company, right? I mean, R136, people say, oh, you're not an operator, you're a VC. I mean, sorry to say, bullshit. I mean, I'm an operator of the venture company, right?
Yeah.
It's like only 15 people, but why I'm not an operator? I'm an operator, right? I founded it. It's a startup in a way. I just treat it as a startup. Um,
You have
it's
more
a
pressure. You're dealing with other people's money.
and
You have
it's
a
a
lot.
little bit of multitasking. I mean, I have
Yeah.
to deal with my LPs. I have to deal with my startups, portfolio companies, with prospects. But it's still a startup. But anyway, coming to a question. So I did not fall in love with any particular problem in a way I would have been engaged for 10 years. But that's the reason why I decided to date with so many different, not to marry one problem, but to date with so many different problems. And I love what I'm doing. I think that I'm best in doing what I'm doing because think of like being, again, coming back to soccer. You could just play a midfield, you can play a defender, a goalkeeper, you may play a forward, but you may only sit on the bench and be a coach, right?
Yeah.
Like Mourinho or like others, whatever, give a name. I mean, they're not the best players, even they played soccer, but they're admired and best coaches, right?
Right.
So I think I'm a better coach than a player, yeah, because I can observe, look at how others are playing, and give them the right advice in the right way. And it's extremely difficult. It's even more difficult than to play yourself, right? And you have to do it in a way. I mean, because all founders have an ego, right? And I admire their ego, and I admire what they're doing. They're like doing a fantastic, whether they're successful or unsuccessful temporarily. They are doing amazing work. They are in a high risk. I'm not at that high risk business because I'm diversified. I could not make as much as they can, but I'm diversified, right? They are putting all eggs into one basket. So I admire that, and they're extremely talented and brave. Uh, and you have to give them like a room of feeling this greatness, right? But you still have to coach them. And it's like coaching, when I'm thinking of that, coaching Roger Federer, right? What you can tell him how to play tennis, but he still has a coach, right? Who can tell him something what coach himself maybe could not do, but he can make it like different for Roger Federer. That's how I treat all my founders.
And you make a great point that
Yeah.
you're able to observe certain things that Roger Federer wouldn't be able to do while he's playing, and
Mhm.
that's really your skill set because you have the experience of working in tech, building up these
Mhm.
millions of users and millions of dollars in before mobile was mobile. You have that objectivity where you can input that knowledge and observe. Whereas when you're playing, you usually don't have enough time to observe what you're doing because you're too busy running around and hitting the
Absolutely.
ball.
So I'm on the right place in the right time. I love what I'm doing. I'm surrounded by amazing people. And actually, I feel like I don't feel bored any minute in my life. And it's like a fantastic time and fantastic, really fantastic place to be.
I love that. I know you had posted on LinkedIn about like founders not experiencing the pain. They're coming up with solutions, but they haven't lived the pain or experienced the pain. Anyone in payment, you see a lot of payment founders end up creating SaaS products for for regulations and compliance because they felt that pain
Mhm.
firsthand.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts about founders that don't feel the pain as much or haven't been in the pain? Can they still build successful businesses, or do they have to kind of like stew in that pain for a bit in order to sharpen their skills?
They may not experience pain themselves, but they should really go deep into the problem, right? So they should at least like on a fictional level, they should create this notion of feeling a pain, right? Otherwise, it won't work, right? I mean, indeed, you have to go deep into the problem to find the solution. And founders, especially, sometimes I advise early stage founders who come with a solution without really understanding the problem. I mean, I'm not investing. I'm not even looking into this because I understand that they will never. I mean, they have elaborated something and now they try to find how they can deploy it. It doesn't work that way. I mean, you should not like come up with something trying to find how you can like build upon that. You should really come from the other end, right? You should go through the problem deep. And I just can give you like I can even like probably name a company called iWallet.com. I'm an advisor and probably the only angel investor. That's a payment platform for field services, and we built like a lot more than just a payment platform. Now it's like a CFO suite. But anyway, the founder is a great man and a friend of mine, Jim. He started a payment platform, the iWallet, after he sold his startup in other like hardware space, and he was like doing this. He was trying to create like a POS, a point of sale platform, like in payments. And I was like very skeptical. I said, Jim, you are a great guy, but I mean, it's not. I mean, the way you tell me this thing, you just do not really understand the pain either of consumer or a bank or a merchant whom you are trying to make happy. And then he and I like came up because he was building when he is an immigrant like me, but much young. I mean, much long ago. So he built his like field service company, and it's still like operational. It makes some money for him, but he's not managing it any longer. I told him that you came through this. You know the pain points, you know like how this business is built. Try to build your payment platform for the field service like contractors.
Yeah.
And he did that, and it scaled to over 10 million in ARR, bootstrapped and profitable. Can you think of like a payment platform which is 10 million ARR, growing like 15% month to month, and is profitable? So
Yeah.
when we just go, I mean, I could not say more, but we just go fundraising now. And like people say, how come? I mean, that's the reason he really built it really well, because he understands this domain so well. Because he
Right.
was a serviceman when he moved to the US. He was repairing the like air conditioning and whatever electricity himself. So he knows this, right? So he was at this like business, and now building up payments, like it's an amazing fit, right? With his passion about going like every single step, understanding how it works. So it's a perfect fit. So I think that every founder has to go like in Japanese, it's called Gemba, right? Gemba should go Gemba and should do this work himself prior to like considering a startup, automating it or disrupting it. So that's what I believe is the true value.
I love that. And, for people that don't know, you have your own podcast, Ventures from the Valley. Great technical look at companies and AI and tech and crypto. But you've also written books and you have this concept, Rhino mindset. And I don't want to leave this conversation without getting a better understanding of what the Rhino mindset is and how, what are some characteristics that founders have of this Rhino mindset that's keeping them from becoming a unicorn.
Well, I was developing this book after my like long journey in companies, and I'm a true believer that you could not create innovation, like a breakthrough innovation, is not happening within large organizations. Take it like any name, like Apple, IBM, Cisco, or even OpenAI. At the end of the day, I mean, when a company becomes big, it stops innovating. And the reason for that is that you have a lot to lose. So what innovation is? Innovation is 99 times failure and one time success, right? That's what the breakthrough innovation is all about. You have to be 99 times wrong and one time right. So imagine like a manager in an organization, any organization, S&P 500, where a manager could fail 99 times. I mean, when he's failed failures like 5 times, he's out, right? He could not even live through 99 failures. He can only live through a few. And it's not like the place where you can put everything into, like, all eggs into one basket. You have to diversify. So that's the reason why innovation is not happening in big organizations. But big organizations still can be early adopters of innovation. So when I'm speaking about unicorn managers and unicorn organizations, like large scale companies, I'm speaking about an early adoption of innovation, when you can get the best of the market, either M&A or just something what was recently built, right? And then abstract it completely. The way like IBM did it perfectly once when they decided to build like this personal computer group, and that's how they built like this IBM PC. I mean, they did it as a side project, but they left this project as a startup. They didn't touch it. They let it go, and that was a perfect fit, right? But it is happening so rarely, like, and that is the unicorn pattern. So when I'm speaking about rhinos is the rest, right? Rhinos are, they are unable to like rebuild themselves because they have a lot to lose. So when you, and that's what I admired Nvidia. Nvidia is now trying hard. They are investing like crazy into not being an infrastructure, right? They
Right.
tried to be anything but infrastructure. And if you look into what they're investing into, why? Because, I mean, you have to do it, you have to pivot when you're on top. I mean, most of companies like General Electric, they made like this pivot at some point. They succeeded to pivot, but they did it in extreme conditions when everything was falling apart, not
Right.
when everything was great. So, how to pivot from where you are to something new when things are great, when your margins are great, when you are making like huge tons of cash and stuff? And it's extremely difficult, right? And that is like a Rhino concept. Rhino concept is wait until you're hitting the wall and then change. Unicorn concept is changing when you are on top, just trying to be out of the space because this is not forever. And I believe that my book, From Rhino to Unicorns, is all about that.
I think that's an interesting concept, and you're right. That's the hardest part. When things are going well, you're not like, "Hey, let's risk, let's risk all these things going well." To your point, everyone's trying to fatten up at that point and get big like the Rhino, right? Because then that's how they get their bonuses, and that's how they get promotions. Because now they need direct reports, so they need to hire more people. It's so interesting, Victor.
I
This
gave
is
like, sorry, maybe just gave two like really great examples. Walmart versus Amazon. I mean, Walmart could have built online long ago. They watched Amazon doing it. Why they didn't make it, right? Because Walmart has like a DNA. DNA is that every day best price, right?
yeah,
Best
every
price every
day.
day, and Amazon is not, right? I mean, to compete with Amazon, you should get to this field and compete on their field rather than compete on yours, right? Another example is Nokia to Apple. Uh, Apple won not because Nokia was like, I mean, not because Apple phone were better. I mean, some people say, oh, they just built up this touchscreen. I mean, touchscreen doesn't make sense. I mean, it's not the touchscreen that made Apple, right? And that's what killed Nokia. What killed Nokia is a different business model because Apple became a marketplace. So the strength of Apple is that you have a touchscreen where you can buy anything you want, like thousands of millions of different apps. And that's the beauty, right? And like pivoting to that kind of models is a show of like a strong unicorn pattern in a
Right.
way.
And Nokia just stayed a phone while Apple connected to every single device that you would ever want to use. So you just log in once. You have like nobody wants to break that connectivity, especially with all their families. You know, you can do everything from the phone to your computer. Victor, this has been amazing. You mentioned already a great book, and we're going to definitely tell people to check out your book
Thank you.
and your podcast. Is there any one idea that has shaped your thinking over the last few years, especially as we go into what is uncharted territory for the next generation of AI? Is there any ideas that or conversations you had, or even quotes that you've seen that have completely shaped your thinking in the era of AI?
Um, in the era of AI, Actually, I wouldn't think of like something immediate now. I would probably quote a book by David Deutsch, my favorite writer, who is a pioneer of quantum compute, which is yet not there, but I'm sure it will come at some point. So David Deutsch book, which I admire, is Beginning of Infinity, which was published back in 2011, well before AI era. But the beginning of infinity is just self-explaining thing. I believe that we do live in this beginning of infinity cycle, right? That makes our lives like amazing and gets like a meaning to this, right? It's like something happening now what will never stop, right? And I believe that what we see now, like AI revolution, is nothing compared to what will come in terms of business too. So my prediction, again, no advice, investment advice, but my prediction that in 20 years we will see at least five of companies in top 10 most like valued companies. There will be names which do not exist now, right? So there will be five new companies, and I don't know what the technologies they will build upon, what the business models are going to be there, but I'm sure that this shift is there, and we will see like a completely new world, which I'm looking forward to being a part of.
That's amazing. Where's the best place for people to reach out to you? LinkedIn, Twitter? Just
Yeah,
email you and ask for money?
LinkedIn is the best probably, and well, you can also do VICTOR at R136.vc. So VICTOR at R136.vc. So I'm reading all my emails, and I will be happy to reply.
That's awesome. Is there anything that you're looking for in your email? Like, is there anything that gets you excited that comes across your desk?
New
Any
ideas.
words?
New ideas. I mean, come up with like new stuff you're building. I admire all builders, and indeed, I'm reading everything being sent. Right, I'm not replying everything. And if I reply, be sure it's not an AI. It's my voice you hear. But I definitely go through every deck I'm being sent, if even it's very time consuming. I go at least a few seconds to see whether it makes sense or not, and I reply a lot. So yeah, so please
Is there any place
use
that
my
people
button.
lose you in the deck? Like, I know, like, now that you say that you're reading every deck, is there somewhere where is it that they're not putting their numbers right at the front and letting you know? Is there anywhere where you think they lose your interest, or you start to lose interest in the
Well,
deck?
if somebody sends me like 50 pages, certainly they lose my interest. So if you could not explain things in one page, so I really admire what YC is doing, like this elevator speech. And you can look into my, by the way, one of my LinkedIn's and Substacks. I think I wrote like a little bit of what the elevator pitch is all about and how you should build it. So if you are not ready and could not convince an investor in 60 seconds through your like staying in the elevator and without showing a deck, but just telling your story, probably you could not make it.
I love that. Victor, thank you so much for joining us and amazing work at
Thank you, Stefan.
R136.
Yeah, it was a really amazing time with you, and thanks for your great questions.